from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to the Friday night edition of the program. We're live and national. Give us a call, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. And lots of stuff to discuss tonight. We're going to jump right in. President Trump today speaking with the Japanese Prime Minister. He also had a couple other things to talk about. I'm going to circle back on that stuff. We also have the revocation of Biden's security clearance and USAID. Literally, they took the sign off the building. A judge is recommending that it be downsized. Looks like Doge is working. Now, mind you, I want to get into some of the facts that go into this stuff because the media continues to distort the facts. Right, so tonight we're going to talk about the media, we're going to talk about mental health, and we're going to talk about marriage or, everything else that goes into relationships, right? Because Valentine's Day is coming up next week, and there's several gifts that you should likely never, ever buy. So keep it locked right here for all of that info. But right now, I want to start with President Trump and his comments. He made a joint appearance today in the White House with the Japanese Prime Minister. And part of what they talked about, it circled around a lot of things, right? You had some discussion about Maxine Waters trying to force her way into the Department of Education with, a request to spend more money per pupil. That's not a good idea. But President Trump, again, I think reinforcing what really needs to be said here, not only, what they're doing with Doge, but really talking about handling things in the appropriate manner when it comes to like handling corrupt FBI agents and whatnot. But I've got a clip of here the president in this joint news conference with Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba saying that Doge will look at the Department of Education and the military. Go right ahead.
Virtually every investment made is a con job. There's nothing of value to anybody unless there's a kickback scheme going on, which is possible. And we're going to be doing more and more of that. We're going to be looking at Department of Education. We're going to be looking at even our military. We're going to be looking at tremendous amounts of money, Peter, being spent on things that bear no relationship to anything and have no value.
No value at all. And what's important here is Trump holding people accountable, right? I know there's a lot of people, and I talk about this a lot because honestly, it's a pet peeve of mine that there are so many people in America that think that we're going to put people in prison, orange jumpsuits, Gitmo, Guantanamo, tribunals, and all that other crazy stuff. It's not going to happen. But he says he will fire some corrupt FBI agents. Listen to this.
FBI has turned over a list to the Justice Department of the FBI agents who worked on the January 6 rioters cases. Are you planning to fire the FBI agents who worked on those investigations?
No, but I'll fire some of them because some of them were corrupt. I have no doubt about that. I got to know a lot about that business, that world. I got to know a lot about that world, and we had some corrupt agents, and those people are gone or they will be gone, and it'll be done quickly and very surgically.
Very surgically. Love that. Quickly, very quickly, surgically. And El Trompito also announcing the revocation of Joe El Baboso Biden's security clearance. Now, I want to make it clear, just a quick caveat here, quick sidebar. It was told to me by one of our folks, that works with the program, that there's, I don't know if some, but I know at least a listener that has complained, saying that they don't like my nickname for President Trump. Donaldus Magnus, El Trompito, the 45th and 47th president of these United States, El Presidente. they said that they feel that I am mocking him. Now, I don't think this is a mockery at all. Matter of fact, I don't know too many people that have nicknames for Trump, but I do have one, and it is a name that is held in esteem, in respect, and in affection. And I can tell you that I told him to his face, right? If you've listened to the show for any amount of time, he was on the program. I think he enjoyed it, right? I think Lara Trump also said, oh, El Trompito, I like that. Matter of fact, that rap group that was working with him on the campaign trail, guess what song they made last summer? El Trompito. So anyway, I think the president enjoyed the nickname that we gave him. I think he understands that it's a term of endearment. But for the one person out there that was had their panties in a bunch, I want you to rest assured that it is done with el mayor respeto, right? With the utmost respect for President Trump. That is why it's el Trompito, not just Trompito, right? El Trompito. Donaldus Magnus, the 45th and 47th president of these United States. El Presidente. You got to say the whole thing. Now, El Trompito revoked the security clearance of Joe El Baboso Biden. Now, of course, Joe El Baboso Biden is a fake, phony fraud. He's a clown. He's somebody that shouldn't have anything to do with our government, and I think President Trump realizes that and is acting accordingly. Listen to this.
President Trump is now revoking the security clearances for former President Biden. President Trump saying on Truth Social, quote, there is no need for Joe Biden to continue receiving access to classified information. Therefore, we are immediately revoking Joe Biden's security clearances and stopping his daily intelligence briefings. He set this precedent in 2021 when he instructed the intelligence community, IC, to stop the 45th president of the United States, me, from accessing details on national security, a courtesy provided to former presidents. The Her report revealed that Biden suffers from, quote, poor memory, and even in his prime could not be trusted with sensitive information. I will always protect our national security. Joe, you're fired. Make America great again.
Well, there you have it. You heard the entire report from Brett Baer from the Fox News Channel. And I got to tell you, I love it when somebody breaks some precedent. Now, it could be my own bias. It could be that I'm a supporter of President Trump and his policies, and that's why I think this is good. I always try to give myself a test and put the shoe on the other foot. And I think, and Biden was kind of inconsequential to me, and not that he was inconsequential in general, just to me, right? It was hard for me to get really angry at the guy because I felt so badly for him. But Barack Obama, I felt, was a very nefarious guy. So I always use him. And I think if Barack Obama were to suspend the security clearance of George W. Bush, what would my reaction be? And I think my reaction would likely be, who does Barack Obama think he is? Okay, so he got elected to the highest office in the land, and of course he has the ability to do this. But should he, in fact, be doing it? Should he be breaking tradition that's been around forever and a day? All for the sake of political expediency, or moreover, so that he can do whatever foreign policy, who knows what, and not have to hear anything from his predecessor, George W. Bush? That's likely what I would say. Now, that would have been back in 2008. Fast forward, with hindsight being 2020, I'd probably have the same opinion I have today, which is you've earned your way into the White House. You have the power that comes with having the White House, and we have to respect the office. And I think that's where I'm going to remain. And I try to be as level-headed on these things as I can be. I try not to get my bias, my disdain for Barack Obama get in the way. And I think in that case, maybe it was. But trying to keep it real, keep it gangsta, keep it funky, right? So I'm telling you the truth. And that's my truth, right? I do believe that. And I believe that Trump had no choice here, honestly. I think had he allowed Biden to maintain the security clearance, that would have been an egregious failure. And I would hinge it all on one thing. I would say never in history have we had a president pardon his son, his brother, his sister-in-law, his family. Not to mention people in government in positions of power, Liz Cheney, Dr. Fauci, et al. We've never seen that, especially something that he did so late in the game. I think he signed it and went to the inauguration. Trump didn't even know about it until after the fact. So yeah, with that type of egregious behavior coming from the former president, El Baboso, then I think it's without question that you've got to take away absolutely everything you can, except maybe the Secret Service. I think he probably needs the Secret Service because, he earned that. He was president, and whether he cheated or not, whether he stole the election or not, there's probably somebody that wants him dead, and it's part of the package, right? I wouldn't want them to take it away from Trump, and I wouldn't want them to take it away from Biden or Obama. So, all of that being said, I want to dig into a few things, right? A few things I want to dig into. Number one is what is going on with all these lies that they're telling in the media. The media is off the hook. They keep reporting absolutely everything that the left puts out there. Like, they're coming for your Social Security. Elon Musk is stealing your Social Security number. Elon Musk wants to steal your identity. I mean, the craziest things is what I'm hearing out here. But I want to talk about the media and the lies within the media. I also want to talk about the Doge Committee. And is it as bad as Chuck Schumer says? I don't know. I don't think it is. I think it's fantastic. And I also want to learn a little bit more about which families have the largest cash income on average. Well, when you want to know very specific facts like that, there's only one place you can go, justfacts.com. Justfacts.com is a tremendous organization, and their fearless leader, the president and co-founder of Just Facts, Jim Agresti, is joining us straight ahead. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. The best guests, the best opinions. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
We should talk about reform, but we should talk about it the way it's always been done in America, in the halls of Congress, in the public forums of the people's government. That's what the Founding Fathers wanted. If the Founding Fathers were to be like Doge, a small group of them would get together and just dictate what should have been done in America. It didn't. They set up a Congress. They set up debate. And the American people, mark my words, the American people will not stand for an unelected, secret group to run rampant through the executive branch. Being innovative is good. But, Mr. Musk, this isn't a tech startup. These are public institutions that deal with things like Social Security and Medicare and national defense and provide for the well-being of the American people. And the American people have a right to be part of that debate.
That, of course, Senator Chuck Schumer, who was in Congress and in local government when I was a kid. He had an office not far from Kings Highway. I lived on Avenue M, and he used to come by my block. He knew my parents by name. Actually, on at least one occasion, I was riding my bike outside my house, and he messed up my hair. Like, hey, how you doing, squirt? That type of thing. And I never thought he was cool. I always thought he was like a stuffed suit type of guy. I was like, who's this weirdo? Always asking for my parents. But, like acting like he cared. But he didn't care. He was a politician. But yes, Chuck Schumer's been in this game for a long, long time, right? That was back when I had hair. I don't even have hair anymore. But I want to get to the bottom of this because Chuck Schumer says that Doge is doing this and Doge is doing that. And I think it's a lot of misplaced ire, right? I think the media is blowing things out of proportion. Every day when you go on the news, you look at the different websites, you see all of these reports about all these crazy things. Elon Musk is stealing your social. He's using his private laptop, his private AI. He's hacking the government. He's a criminal. And nobody's stopping to think, who are the criminals that are spending all this money that he's trying to stop from being spent? That is, I think, the bigger question. And for that, I'm going to turn to somebody that I consider an expert. He's the president and co-founder of JustFacts.com, JustFacts.com, JustFacts.com. Jim Agresti, welcome back, brother.
Richie V, always great to be on your show. You're a good man and a class act. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, brother. Likewise to you. And I heard this audio of Chuck Schumer. I saw it from a clip that you shared, and you had some comments on it. Tell me what you think.
Well, first of all, the simplest and most ridiculous thing in it is calling Doge secretive. Trump ran on a platform of having Doge and Elon Musk help root out waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government.
Yeah.
He's fulfilling that promise, and Musk is bragging about it on Twitter or X all day long. So, first of all, there's nothing secretive about it. Secondly, Trump is the executive he runs the executive branch. That is the constitutional power of the president. He is responsible for enforcing those laws. And there are numerous laws against waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. And all Trump is doing is in using Musk's technical prowess to help find that. And it is Trump who ultimately makes those decisions, and he has the power to do that as the chief executive of the presidency.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, this is the bottom line that I think people are forgetting. Musk is just here. He's passing through, right? He's a billionaire that builds spaceships and electric cars and brain chips and everything else he does. And he felt things weren't going good when they tried to shut him up. So he bought Twitter. And then he said, you know what? I'm going to hook up with Trump. We're going to try and make America great again. And so he's here. But ultimately, all of this falls on the desk of El Trompito Donaldus Magnus. And I think it's just, I would say funny, but it's not funny. It's almost sad that they're continuously trying to shoot the messenger.
Well, this is a guy that has spent a lot of his own money, first of all, to rescue free speech from government censors, to take his time and fortune to fight for the things that America, he feels would be good for this nation he clearly loves. And he's working like an animal at this for free. And to paint this guy as some sort of villain or somebody who's in it all for himself, I mean, this guy is a 3-digit billionaire, right? I forget what he's worth, $200-300 billion. It doesn't matter how much money he has. He's not in this for the money. He's in it for America. And to kind of paint him as some villain, as got some evil back-end agenda, is absurd.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting you say it that way because I agree with that 100%. And I'll tell you why. There's another billionaire loco out there, George Soros. Never in a million years would I say George Soros does the things he does because he needs money or he wants more money. I think George Soros really believes in his left-wing agenda, just like I believe Elon Musk really believes in free speech and saving America. And ultimately, I think when billionaires, I think, might be the most honest people you can find because they don't have to worry about losing their job or losing their fortune or losing whatever because they have enough money to survive. And I think sometimes that's worth a lot in an interesting way.
I couldn't agree more. You know, I don't hear people on the right saying Soros is in this for the money. They'll criticize him and say he's in it for his agenda, and that's one thing. But to make it out of personal greed is absurd.
Yeah, I agree. Folks, we're on with Jim Agresti. We're coming right back with him. We're going to talk about Doge and a question. Which families in the United States have the largest average of cash income? Well, you get to guess, and we're going to get the answer from Jim Agresti, president of Just Facts. Straight ahead. Don't go anywhere. I'm Rich Valdez.
By the way, your ratings are up. Congratulations. I had somebody. It's always nice to check. I like to see, even if they're friends, I like to see how are they doing. Are people listening, right?
That's
but
right.
You're doing great.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
What's going on here is when you spend money on stupid things, you attack the guy who exposes it. That's exactly what Democrats are doing. The proponents of big government, the recipients of big government spending, they just as soon keep all that secret. But Elon Musk comes along and says, this is ridiculous. As Mark put it out, some trans opera in Ireland, they're funding Sesame Street shows in Iraq. I mean, think about it. China's building bridges and roads in certain countries, and we're putting Big Bird and Bert and Ernie on TV in Baghdad. Who do you think is going to have more influence? So what Elon Musk is saying, this is stupid. Let's stop it. Let's focus on serving the American people.
Let's focus on serving the American people. That's Congressman Jim Jordan from Ohio, and he couldn't be more right, in my opinion. Like I said, they're trying to shoot the messenger. In this case, it's Elon Musk, and maybe he's unconventional, but Trump's unconventional. And honestly, that's where we are right now, right? We're dealing with unconventional times. So as we are dealing with unconventional times, we have to do what we have to do. So what I want to do is bring it back to our guest, Jim Agresti. He is the president of Just Facts. Jim, I want to continue down this line of discussion. And what else do you think the Democrats are going to be throwing at Musk and Trump and the Doge Committee?
So I don't need to hypothesize about this. I can see it. So today, Dan Goldman, a U.S. congressman from New York, posts on X that Doge plans to audit the Social Security Administration, and that means Donald Trump and Elon Musk are trying to take away your hard-earned Social Security benefits. Now, nothing could be further from the truth. What Doge is tasked to do is to root out waste, to root out fraud, to root out abuse. And there are significant amounts of that in the Social Security Administration. Let me just give you a prime example here. Sure. In 2022, the Social Security Administration made roughly $2 billion in fraudulent and other improper payments. Now, you say $2 billion. It's hard to wrap your head around a figure like that. So let me just bring it down to earth. That's enough to pay 90,000 retired workers the average old age benefit of $22,000. It's a significant amount of people that are being cheated out of the money that they've been taxed to pay for Social Security. And so Musk is going in there to fix that. I'll give you another example. This one blows the mind. If you remember back in the Obama administration, there were Obama stimulus checks sent out. Oh, yeah. And these were sent to everyone who had a Social Security number, including 72,000 dead people, including 63,000 of them. Their deaths has already been reported to the Social Security Administration. And get this, Rich, this is the best. The checks were sent to 8,000 dead people who were born before the oldest living person in the United States.
Wow. How do you do that? How does that even happen?
I have no idea, but this is the kind of thing that Musk is out to help us with, as Jim Jordan said, to let's have some responsibility here. I mean, there is incredible amount of fraud in our federal government, and we've just grown to tolerate it. And it's really intolerable. They're stealing from all of us.
Yeah. And you know, something, Jim Agresti, that I think is remarkable here, I guess the unspoken common sense factor, which to me is this. This is politics. There's a few things you really can't touch in politics that are kind of third rail, right? You can't really attack children, and you can't attack seniors. Doing so oftentimes is perilous politically. So in knowing that, and this is for anybody, like if Trump were to announce, I believe we must end Social Security, if he did that, I would think that it would backfire, and people that once supported him would immediately not support him, because there's a healthy amount of people that are on a fixed income that rely on Social Security, and they'll put their politics aside in a heartbeat if they think that their livelihood is now at risk. So obviously, that's not going to happen. I think every politician on the planet knows you never touch Social Security. It may be unsustainable. It may be a lot of things. But what you don't do is announce that you're going to cut it, right? It would not be politically advantageous. And it makes no sense to me why anyone would think that Trump is actually trying to do that. It would blow up in his face.
and he's been very vocal that he's not going to touch Social Security, which from a strictly financial perspective, I don't think that's smart. I think something needs to be done, or the program is just going to collapse under its own weight. But the point is, he has been very strident about that all the way through. I am not touching a thing. I'm not raising the retirement age. I'm not doing anything. So knowing that this is a political vulnerability for anyone to be accused of touching that third rail, Goldman, he has to know what he's saying is not true. You know, I rarely accuse someone of lying because people make legitimate mistakes all the time. But Goldman knows full well that that's not what Doge is about, and it's not what Trump's doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. And ultimately, this would make no sense. It would the backlash would be too immense. So I think the Democrats are just grasping at straws, and this is why they keep saying Elon Musk is stealing your identity and he's stealing your Social Security number and he's trying to take your Social Security and he's trying to take your Medicare. Now, I do believe that there's going to be some reform on Medicare. I think in previous conversations you and I have had, we've talked about how Medicare and debt service and the national defense budget are probably the three biggest things in the United States, our total expenses. And with that being said, I think we have to do something with Medicare. But there's, like you said, there's a ton of fraud and waste and abuse in Medicare that can be addressed without actually harming the people that rely on it most.
True. And by the way, Trump has also been vocal about not touching Medicare, too, which, again, I think is not fiscally responsible, but that's the ground he's staked out. So what they're doing when he goes in and tries to help these programs is accusing him of trying to undermine them. No, he's extending their life by rooting out the massive waste that is inherent in them.
Yeah, and you know what, Jim? I think ultimately Trump, might likely offer a proposal that might be edgy and might be innovative. That's a replacement for a lot of these systems and a lot of these expenses. But something he's been great at throughout has been earning the public's support for things. Right? He puts it out there and he starts to gain support. He started with Build the Wall. That didn't work for everybody, right? He paid a big price for that, but ultimately, I think it got him elected. And he stuck with it, and he ran on it again, and it got him elected again, right? So clearly, it may not always be popular, but when he has an idea that's provocative and edgy, he runs with it. So I think if he did have a plan to say, we're going to replace Social Security with this, or we're going to revamp it this way, at the right time, he would start promoting this plan to gain public support. And I think if anything he's good at that, is gaining public support, which is why he won with the numbers that he did and gaining the popular vote. Now, I want to pivot to this other topic. You had posed a really good question on your X account. Folks, if you're not following Just Facts, you definitely got to check them out on Twitter, also known as X, at Real Just Facts. And there was a post that I saw where you were positing which families earn the highest cash incomes on average. And I thought it was very interesting, the breakdown. Tell us more.
So, first of all, it's important to realize when I'm talking about cash income, I'm not talking about cash under the table. I'm talking about money that you get paid in terms of salaries or wages, as opposed to, let's say, benefits, like health care benefits. That's out of the equation. It's just kind of what you're paid in your paychecks or what you earn through your business. So here's the surprising answer to that. Foreign-born non-citizens have the highest average cash income of every other group in the United States, more than native-born citizens and way more than non-citizens. In other words, the immigrants who come here go through the system properly, wait in line, do the right things to become U.S. citizens, swear the oath of allegiance to the Constitution. These are the wealthiest people on average in our nation. They have an average cash income of $113,000 per household.
Wow.
It's a very significant amount.
And the comparison, just for the audience's benefit, it was multiple choice question, right? So the question was, in the U.S., which of the following types of families has the highest average of cash income? Non-citizens, native-born citizens or foreign-born citizens? And the answer is foreign-born citizens.
Correct. And that, you might not think that, but it just goes to show you that our immigration system is designed to bring in the right people. It's designed to bring in people who are going to be net contributors to our country. And when people cut the line, cross the border illegally, and do all these things that Biden has been letting them get away with for the last 4 years, these people are generally much poorer. They use much more welfare. They commit more crimes. So the system is designed to let in people who are going to help. And when we just short-circuit it and say, you can cut the line, we're undermining America.
The facts speak for themselves. Jim Agresti, president of Just Facts. Let everybody know where they can get you, how they can keep in touch with all the amazing work you're doing.
Well, thank you for your kind words. So
of course,
you can reach us at justfacts.org, and the best thing to do is just put your email there. We send one email per week. We'll never sell it. We'll never spam you, and we'll keep you abreast of everything new we publish.
Folks, I want to highly recommend Just Facts. It's my opinion that they are the best top-notch think tank outside of Washington, D.C., focused on facts using primary source data, and it's I use it all the time. It's great stuff. And when I'm talking about great, I mean great. You dig in, and you've got multiple sources that you can defend your arguments with for days. So you want to argue with the left, go to Just Facts. JustFacts.com is the website. Jim Agresti, thanks for being with us. I appreciate it, brother. Godspeed.
Same to you, Richie V.
You bet. All right, amigos, we continue. Your calls and more are coming up, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys in this 9 o'clock hour. And I have a question, right? And I might be proven wrong here, but I think I'm right. It's my contention that on Fridays, right, we tend to let our hair down a little bit. And I think people at 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight, they're out, right? They're at dinner. Maybe they go to the bar after dinner. Maybe they hang out at the restaurant until it closes. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people aren't tuned in to the radio like they are on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Because maybe it's payday for some people. It's time to take the wife out. And that might be Saturday, right? Some people might say, I'm too tired. I'm going straight home. But I think people still go out to restaurants with their significant others. And that's why we don't get that many calls in the 9 o'clock hour. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but if you want to do an experiment with me, I'd love that. If you're home and you're listening to me right now and you're live, pick up the phone and call. I'd love to get your thoughts on what we're talking about. 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, amigos, welcome back. It's Rich Valdez keeping you company till, midnight in most areas, 1 a.m. in other areas. I love that. I'm happy to be on the air with you guys. It's Friday. We're live. We're national. The phone number is 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. And I do want to hit the phones. I see we have calls from Centerville, Virginia, Fairfax, Virginia, Boise, Idaho, and more that are coming in right now as we speak. Let us go to Leo. Leo's calling from Centerville, Virginia on WMAL. Shout out to our affiliate in D.C. Leo, go right ahead. You're on with Rich Valdez. Welcome.
Hey, Rich, thanks for coming on to WMAL. I was going to kind of joke or pull your leg. I'm a longtime listener, but I think you've only been on since the start of the new year, and it's been a big improvement for WMAL. So keep up the good work, and thank you for what you do.
Oh, brother, that is very kind of you, and thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. Yeah, on rare occasions, I've had the opportunity to be on the WMAL airwaves when I would fill in for my my mentor, how I got into this business, the great one, Mark Levin, and I would cover his show from time to time over the last 5-6 years, and it was always a pleasure. I loved speaking with the callers on WMAL. Very exciting to talk to people in the nation's capital and all over the country, honestly. So thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it, brother. Godspeed to you. Have a great weekend, and I'm glad you're home listening to the show. Hopefully you'll take the wife out tomorrow. Thanks, Leo. Let's continue. I want to go to Pablo. Pablo is in Fairfax, Virginia, listening on WMAL as well. Pablo, go for it, my man. You're on with Rich Valdez.
Hey, how you doing, Rich? Pleasure to talk to you. Hey,
Likewise.
listen, we love what you do here, and like the previous caller, WMAL seems to be in the belly of the beast out here, but we're keeping up the fight. I must say, look, the guest, your previous guest that just threw out the statistics of foreign-born citizens that did it right are actually the people that are, doing the best.
Earning the highest cash income, yeah.
And that's me and my wife. My wife was born in Vietnam, came as a refugee after the war, and I was born in Bolivia, and I came as a refugee also as well in the 1980s. So
Wow.
that in itself tells you, and we're doing very well out here in Virginia, and that gives us the pride, and we teach our kids all the time. Look, America is the best country in the world. You better love this country and do the best you can to make this country better every day. And we love your show, and just, good looking out for us, man.
Bueno, felicidades for you and your wife, Pablo. I think that's fantastic. And you know what? As he said it, I was thinking to myself, most people that I know that were born somewhere else came to the United States, honor and treasure the ability to become a citizen. They do a lot more with the American dream than many of us that were born here, right? I think they oftentimes they have something to compare it to, right? Especially Vietnam, right? People from Vietnam, they love America. I know plenty of Vietnamese, and they love America. They're very conservative, and it's because they know the alternative, right? For the Vietnamese, is Pol Pot. For Bolivians like yourself, you know about your neighbors in Venezuela and how difficult things were with Chavez and Los Chavistas. And you see what happens with communists, and you realize, you know what, this is not for me, right? It's so bad for so many people that they're willing to leave their country to go somewhere else. So I thank you for your kind words. I really do. I appreciate it. But really, all my respect to you and to your family and to everybody that's out there working hard. God bless you, Pablo. I appreciate it. Folks, we're coming right back. The rest of your calls and more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. And to the phones we go. It's the speed round with minutes to go on the clock. John, Germantown, Maryland, WMAL. Go right ahead.
Hey, Rich. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I saw, I was looking through Facebook today, and there was some place that said that Chelsea Clinton had gotten $84 million from USAID.
You know, I saw the same thing, and I looked into it. It looked like it was Chelsea Clinton, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. I think that the total was $84 million over several years. But I think the total really for her was more like $17 million that came in by way of USAID directly for her. Either way, it's great to be in business where you get money from the federal government as a donation, quote unquote, right? Anyway, John in Germantown, WMAL, thank you, brother. Ray in Watertown, Brenda in Albany, stick with me if you can. We're coming back for another action-packed hour. But for those of you that are bidding us adieu, I say to you, take care, good night, and God bless you, America. I'm Rich Valdez.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? Rich Valdez, happy to be with you this Friday evening. We're live, we're national. Welcome to the program. Here's the phone number if you want to dial in. I'm happy to chat with you. 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. That is Valdez with an S. And really looking forward to getting into a lot of the topics we're talking about tonight. I want to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about, there's a lot of mental health issues out there, and I love to keep my finger on the pulse of that because I think some of it might be overblown sometimes where, people are just like, oh, I need a mental health day. Oh, mental health day. And I think they kind of abuse the system, right? But in reality, I think there's a lot of undiagnosed mental health issues out there, and I want to talk about them, right? And how to deal with them, and we're going to do that in a little bit. But I also want to give you some of the stuff that's going on in America at night, right? Some of the stuff that happened today. And some of the big stories, of course, the Japanese prime minister coming to visit the United States and speaking with President Trump in a joint appearance. And a couple of things, went down there. Of course, President Trump was speaking with the media and with who else was there? With the prime minister, Shigeru Ishiba. Forgive me for my ignorance on the pronunciation of Shigeru Ishiba. But one of the things that they talked about was the cover of Time magazine, which shows Elon Musk sitting behind the Resolute desk. Listen to this.
Did you have a reaction to the new Time magazine cover that has Elon Musk sitting behind your Resolute desk?
タイムマガジンにイーロン・マスクが大統領の机の後ろで座っている写真がありますけども、それに関するコメントは何かありますか?
Is Time magazine still in business? I didn't even know that. まだタイムマガジンは廃刊じゃないんですか? Elon is doing a great job. He's finding tremendous fraud and corruption and waste. You see it with the USAID, but you're going to see it even more so with other agencies and other parts of government. He's got a staff that's fantastic.
So there you see the president, again, fully supporting the work that Elon Musk is doing with the Doge committee. And I think that's a good thing, the Department of Government Efficiency. And he's also got the Secretary of State on this as well, trying to shut down USAID and do everything that needs to be done. Marco Rubio weighing in on this. Listen to this.
I had preferred not to do it this way. When we tried to do it from the top down by getting cooperation from the central office of USAID, what we found instead are people trying to use the system to sneak through payments and push through payments.
Sneaking through payments, cheating the system, right? That's what it's all about. And that's why they've all but shut down USAID and taken the sign right off the building. Listen to this report.
A federal judge ruled temporarily blocking the Trump administration from placing 2,000 USAID employees on paid leave. The judge sided with the workers' associations that argue the president doesn't have the authority to do so. Earlier today, President Trump posted online calling the organization that delivers aid to people around the world corrupt. He's working with Elon Musk to slash its workforce by 98%, from 14,000 employees to fewer than 300. And the president says this is just the beginning of a much larger purge.
Elon is doing a great job. He's finding tremendous fraud and corruption and waste. You see it with the USAID, but you're going to see it even more so with other agencies and other parts of government. He's got a staff that's fantastic.
Earlier today, crews started removing the signage from USAID's headquarters in D.C. It's not clear what's next for these employees come Monday.
So the judge is saying you can't fire them just yet, but they'll come to some resolution on that, because I don't think a judge can really stop the president from firing people that work for the federal government, I guess, unless they're like career professionals, not appointees. But I would suspect that whether it's USAID or elsewhere in the government, they're going to be reassigned and they're not going to be working where they were working before. That I can pretty much guarantee you, because I know how government works to some degree. And the deep state isn't going to win this fight, not on USAID. It was massively corrupt. Anyway, I wanted to talk about this before, but I didn't get to it. Another plane has crashed, this time in Alaska. Sadly, 10 people are dead. Listen to this.
We brought you that information about a missing plane in Alaska that apparently had 10 passengers on board. The U.S. Coast Guard has located an aircraft matching the description of the missing plane approximately 34 miles southeast of Nome. 3 individuals were found inside and reported to be deceased. They say our thoughts are with those affected by this tragic incident.
Yeah, my thoughts and prayers are with them as well. That's horrible. And I mean, with all of this negative news on air travel, it puts that into a lot of people's minds, right? I'll be doing some air travel soon. Next week, I've got to take a little trip. Planning on being in Nashville, Tennessee for a couple of days, visiting our Cumulus Westwood One family over there, plus my own family. I've got some family out there as well, and I'm looking forward to that. And, you know, I'm not going to lie and say, I'm feeling fine. I'm not that daring. I'm going to get on the plane. But my hope is that it's going to take off and land, the way every other plane I've been on has done. But I've never seen a year where we've had this many mishaps and so many fatalities on planes. So hopefully the deep state will leave my flight alone. I shouldn't have told them where I was going and telegraphed it on the radio. But if I don't make it back, folks, now you know why. It was the deep state for sure trying to get me. Anyway, I want to talk about the fallout, right? When you have these planes crashing and whatnot, and not just because of planes crashing and death and so many other things, but there's a lot of things that I think go into why people become mentally ill, right? And there's a lot of speculation and a lot of reporting on the fact that there's a mental health breakdown and a meltdown in society today, and I believe that. And it's actually the title of a book, Mental Health Meltdown, by Arlene Bridges Samuels. And we're expecting to catch up with her. We're scheduled to catch up with her in a little bit to talk about it. But bipolar disorder and other mental illnesses are, in fact, a very real thing. And I want to talk about that because oftentimes people don't, they hear from mental health experts, but they don't hear from people that have had to deal with it as a part of their everyday life, dealing with it with a family member, dealing with it otherwise. So I definitely want to get into that, and I'm hoping that you'll enjoy that conversation and glean from it a lot of what you may not have otherwise learned. We like to talk about everything that's important in America at night, and I think mental health is just as important as absolutely everything else that we discuss, as well as dating and what Valentine's gifts you should not buy, right? That's coming up in the next hour, so keep it locked right here. And plus, I want to do a lot of interaction with you guys, we the people. So I'm hoping you'll call in and talk about, maybe telling me about what your worst Valentine's gift was, but we'll do that in a little bit. For now, I want to stick with the mental health stuff and all the other news of the day. So here's the number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Mr. Call Screener, who is a budding radio star, by the way. Richie Valdez is terrific.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
We've got the guy that tried to shut the engines down out of the cockpit.
Legislators consider the 2023 arrest of Joseph Emerson a cautionary tale. During a flight from Plainfield to San Francisco, the off-duty Alaska Airlines pilot was accused of trying to shut down the plane's engines and attempted to open an emergency door mid-flight. After his arrest, Emerson said he had been struggling with depression and had self-medicated with illegal mushrooms 2 days before the flight.
As he has been public about his story, really has shed light on the fact that this is not just one person, but he's sort of the tip of the iceberg.
Pilots do not currently qualify for the state's paid family medical leave program, but State Senator Mark Elias wants to change that. Under his bill, pilots, like most workers, would qualify for up to 12 weeks of paid time off for medical care, including mental health services. In Olympia, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
Now, this is not related to the Alaska flight that just went down. This is a file report of someone that was a pilot of a different Alaska airline and did all of these things because he was suffering from unipolar depression. And just like people suffer from unipolar depression, there are people suffering from bipolar depression or bipolar disorder, as it's more commonly known. And it affects a lot of people, 2.5%, a little more than 2.5% of our population. And this obviously affects their lives, their families' lives, their work lives. And I want to get a bird's eye view of that because oftentimes, like I said, we get the doctors on and they tell us what to look for and maybe how to cope, but you don't hear about the actual people going through it. And I think that's equally as important, if not more so. Arlene Bridges Samuels is as a writer, and she's a featured columnist on CBN in Israel, and she's got a book called The Mental Health Meltdown. Arlene Bridges Samuels, welcome.
Rich, it is a pleasure to be here with you and your listeners.
Thank you. Likewise, it's a blessing. Now, I want to hear a little bit. I always like to ask people why they wrote the book, because oftentimes I think writing a book is a pretty serious undertaking for most people, and there's usually a big why behind it. What's your why?
My why goes like this, Rich. My husband, during COVID, wrote his memoir, Bipolar Missionary, and then in the fall of 2023, he came to me and said, Arlene, I believe the Lord might be compelling me to write another book, but to feature others and their stories and their mental illness struggles. And that is how we began, and we've always been a team, Rich. And we wrote our book because Paul himself, my husband, has bipolar, and I'm what the mental health community would call his support person. And we've been married for 49 years. We have been a great team, but we have been through many crises with his mental illness. And so we decided that we would take our lives, our pain, our joys, our struggles, and co-author our book to help others hold on to hope.
Arlene, tell everybody that's listening when you guys learned about Paul's diagnosis. What was that like, and when did it happen?
Rich, it is a fascinating story, and I won't be able to offer every detail about it. But Paul and I both had known that he had some problems, and he had gone to counselors. He had put himself in a Christian hospital for a month, and he was never diagnosed with bipolar, but he gained a lot of help, as far as emotional issues, but with no diagnosis. So then all of this went on for some years, and in those times, Rich, the Lord really was so kind to us. He was on the staff of World Vision. We were on the mission field with Mercy Ships. The Lord just allowed us to follow him into a lot of different, very meaningful contexts. But still, we both knew there were some pretty serious problems there. He was finally diagnosed at 55 after many years, after many years. And he had had a bipolar episode, and he was ordered by a judge to go to a psychiatrist. And Rich, we write in our book that this was one of the best days of our lives, because when the psychiatrist gave the diagnosis, it's like, Rich, it's like a neon light went on for both of us. Like, this is what it's all about. This explains so many of our personal crises and struggles. And so, it's really all about hope in so many ways. It's about hope. It's about endurance. It's about struggles. And that's kind of the background of how all of this came about.
So here you guys are both serving in ministry, and you realize that there are some challenges that you believe are likely mental health or emotional health related. And you tried to seek help. He went to counselors and ultimately to no avail until something more serious happens. And, without the details, what exactly did this ultimate episode look like?
Rich, a lot of times mental illness, because of the pain of it, people can develop various kinds of addictions. It can be a wide range of addictions. It can be drug usage. It can be alcohol. It can be drugs. It can be sexual addiction. It can be any kind of addiction, because these are escape hatches. People with mental illnesses, they are looking for an escape hatch. And even among believers, and my husband, I'm a Gentile, and my husband is a Jewish believer, grew up in the South Bronx, and you can tell by my accent I'm from the South. And
the South, not the South Bronx.
Well, he was the South Bronx and discovered the South, which
right.
was
No, I meant you.
for
Yeah.
me. Yes.
Right.
But anyway, Paul had a particular addiction that led into an episode and landed him in front of a judge. And the judge said, I really don't see a thing really serious in terms of harmful or this sort of thing, but you need to go to a psychiatrist. That is your sentence, so to speak.
Right.
And Rich, it was one of those surprises that you really don't appreciate, but that God takes it and turns it into something else that is a tremendous benefit. And so that was the beginning of an enormous turnaround in our lives, even though we had led and enjoyed so many wonderful professions.
Folks, we're on with Arlene Samuels, and Arlene Bridges Samuels. She's the author of Mental Health Meltdown. Check out the website, thementalhealthmeltdown.com. And we're going to come back and continue our conversation with her. But, Arlene, part of what you were just saying was sort of reminiscent to me when I was, I don't know, maybe 32, 31 years old. I was having a lot of trouble in my marriage. And, lots of forgetfulness, all sorts of weird stuff that, I'm going to the store to buy something, and I'd come back without the something I said I was going to buy. And I'd come back with a bunch of other stuff. And ultimately, I found my way to get an evaluation for ADHD. And I found out that I had ADHD. And just like you said, it was one of the best days of my life. I was like, I'm not broken, even though I might have been broken, but I wasn't broken. I was like, I know what's going on now. And it made all the sense in the world. And there was such a sense of relief that went along with it. So I kind of relate on that front. Folks, we're coming right back with Arlene Bridges Samuels and talking about her journey with her husband through bipolar disorder, recovery, and coping. Mental Health Meltdown is the book. Keep it locked right here. Arlene Bridges Samuels coming right back with me, Rich Valdez.
Thanks for what you do. You have so many people. You ask the questions that if a viewer had a microphone, they would ask that question, and you seem to always ask it right at the right time. So God bless you, my friend.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. Rich Valdez keeping you company till midnight, 1 a.m. in some areas. Happy to be here with you live and national this Friday evening, 833-482-5337, 833-4-Valdez. And I want to return to our conversation with Arlene Bridges Samuels. She is an author. She's a featured weekly columnist for the Christian Broadcasting Network, CBN, in Israel. And she has a book. The book is called The Mental Health Meltdown, and it chronicles her journey with her husband, Paul, his diagnosis at the age of 55 with bipolar disorder, how medication has impacted them, and how learning about this illness was the best day of their lives. Arlene, welcome back. Let's continue going down that road, because I think a lot of people that are listening are really tuned in right now, because they're like, man, if you could live till 55 without getting diagnosed, I wonder, what it looks like and how much better does it get after that?
Yes. No, that's a very, very good question, Rich, because, so many people, the CDC has said that Americans are having a catastrophic mental health challenges. And so it seems to be everywhere surrounding many of us. But sometimes it's quite a journey to get the right diagnosis. And so, part of our story is that God gave me a promise for wholeness in our marriage and the ability to endure, until we got answers, which we did, which I just described. But it is a long journey. It can be complicated, but it's so necessary for people to press in. And like Paul, even though he did not get a diagnosis for quite a while, but part of it, Rich, nowadays, mental illnesses are more discussed. There are more books. There are more counselors. But when Paul was seeking, some sort of answer for his mental illness, this was back in the 80s, early 80s, even into the 90s. So things are different today. And because of that, I would certainly encourage all of your listeners to pursue trusted people, trusted areas, trusted groups to get a diagnosis, because it's not just bipolar, Rich. It's people dealing with PTSD. In our book, we have a whole range of contributors. A soldier with PTSD, a Gen X guy. He said he thinks his began in childhood. A wife whose husband had a terrible mental health episode and had to be hospitalized. But there are many stories in there that the readers are identifying with them, and it's in chapter 1, and that's become one of our most popular chapters. One guy's story says bipolar is not who you are. And another contributor said bipolar is a no casserole illness, because she was told to go home and pray while the person next to her was told about their leukemia, we're going to get a meal train going for you. So there's a lot that, I think one reason that Paul and I included a chapter from a pastor who gave a phenomenal sermon in his congregation to tell them, we need to offer the same compassion to the mentally ill as someone with a physical disability. Stigmas and shame must be erased. And he reminded the congregation that, yes, Christians do have mental illnesses. Read the Psalms of King David. If you really think about it, Rich, he had depression, he was fearful, he agonized, but yet God transformed him into a man after his own heart. So there's a lot of hope there. And that's why Paul and I are so committed to sharing our story, so that others feel more of a motivation, like, wow, they held on, they made it with God's help. And so that's how I would speak into that question.
Outstanding. Folks, just to remind you, we are having a conversation with Arlene Bridges Samuels from the book Mental Health Meltdown. You might have seen her work on the Christian Broadcasting Network, Israel. And Arlene, I want you to tell us a little bit about how you deal with the stigma that goes around having mental illness, whatever it might be, whether it's bipolar or any other mental illness. I think oftentimes people, associate that with something that is not very positive, and almost like you choose it, right? Something bad that you did, as opposed to something that you have to deal with in life. How do you deal with that?
Rich, it's really different for each person that has some sort of mental health issue. Now, for Paul, he had a lot of shame before his diagnosis. And so once he got his diagnosis, as you were mentioning, it was like, oh, this is what it's all about. And then he could take steps to manage it. And that's what it's all about for him. But there is still such a stigma there that people are hesitant because of some of the media, that seems to blow this sort of thing way out of proportion, and take the dramatic things that have happened with people who are dealing with mental illnesses and really overlooking the brave people who are doing everything they know to do. They've found someone they can trust, or their family is walking beside them as a support person, and they are putting themselves into a group. Now, Paul is a very outgoing guy. I mean, he loves to talk to people, and he's very open about his bipolar. And when he speaks about it, he's got a smile on his face. He said, I am so glad that I found out what I have. But others are a lot more private. They have different personalities. So you need to keep exploring your own way based on who you are and your faith. We have a lot of people in the book, Rich, that are of different faiths. We have Christians, Muslim. I think a couple of people have no faith, but they're all gathering and being brave in our book, anonymously and with their name, to say, here's what I've gone through. And some of it's very sorrowful, some of it's joyful, and some of it's just downright successful because they kept going on and holding on to hope as hard as they could.
Outstanding. I want you to tell everyone how they get a copy of the book, or 2 copies, one for themselves, one to give away, and how do they keep in touch with you to keep up with all of the work you're doing?
Well, we certainly have our book, Mental Health Meltdown, is on Amazon. We have what's called a landing page, the mentalhealthmeltdown.com. So certainly, one of those sources. And Rich, I want to add one more thing.
Of course.
I am hoping that some wonderful person in the Trump administration hears my new acronym, and it is this: Make America's mental health great again. Because hope is rising in our country. And, maybe JFK, if he, Jr., or not JFK, but RFK. Robert, yeah. I was alive, when, during JFK's time. But yes, RFK, that he would work very hard to make America's mental health great again.
Sounds good to me. I love it. And I'm grateful for the book that you've put out and the work that you're doing. My best to you and to Paul. Godspeed to you both. Folks, Arlene Bridges Samuels. Check out our website as well, arlenebridgessamuels.com. The book is The Mental Health Meltdown. Book website, thementalhealthmeltdown.com. Arlene, you are a gentlewoman, a scholar, and a patriot. I'm grateful to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. This has been just wonderful. I just so appreciate it.
Likewise. Godspeed. And amigos, your calls on this and everything else we're discussing, straight ahead, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. now. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
I love your show. I love your views on things. I enjoy the interviews that you have, and I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, to the phones we go. Open phones across America. Your thoughts, any topic. Let's do it right now. Live and national, 833-4-VALDEZ. I want to go to Colchester, Connecticut, and check in with Bethany. Bethany is listening on WJJF, which broadcasts out of Long Island. And you know what's on the other side of Long Island Sound? Connecticut. Bethany, go right ahead. You're on with Rich Valdez.
Hi, I'm a nurse, and I've worked a long time with mental health patients as well as family members. So it's kind of been my life and passion. And I appreciate your author and her compassion and that encouragement that there is always hope. And I would say that ultimately hope would be found in the truth of what God has for you and what he feels about you, what he's created you to be. That's the ultimate hope. But in terms of medical care and what we provide for hope, I would challenge some other books to give a different perspective from those who've been hurt in the mental health industry as well. So although many get hope from a diagnosis, others are crushed under the weight of it and the medications that then follow.
Are you saying like the side effects related to the medications or the lack of effectiveness of them, or what's the angle on the medication?
So for a lot of people, that's the first line of help. So rather than, I also have a degree in social work, and I started there. My desire was to help people, help veterans. My parents were both veterans who suffered through the mental health system of the VA. And the medications at that time that varied, but the effects of those medications were far worse than the experience that they had. Subsequent to that, very close friends of mine.
You're saying like the cure being worse than the disease.
Yes, it's put on medication. And I treated children in residential care as well, all with multiple psychiatric diagnoses. So these are kids ages 6 to 18 with these very heavy diagnoses. So it's almost like the debate of children with gender identity and jumping to a diagnosis with medication and medical methods to treat it.
So what's your bottom line here? Do you think there's a better way to do things, a better way to treat bipolar other than medication, or a better medication?
I would say it should be the last line of defense instead of the first. And if you read books by Peter Breggin, that was what really opened my eyes to an alternative.
What would you say the first line of defense is?
The first line of defense is to consider, is this a normal human response to circumstances that you're experiencing that can be alleviated? That would be number one. Oftentimes, that is where you start. Like, yes, you're depressed because something terrible happened to you.
Right.
She talked about
a parent died and you feel depressed. That makes sense.
Yes, and I'm telling you, in a hospital setting, I've seen so many people diagnosed in that acute environment and put on psychiatric medications that then they can't get off of.
Bethany, and that kind of raises a point that I feel the incoming Secretary of Health and Human Services, Bobby Kennedy Jr., he often talks about this over medication, the big pharma effect on healthcare. And it doesn't surprise me, right? It doesn't surprise me. I agree with you. We should do what we need to do when we need to do it, but probably not before, right? We probably shouldn't medicate people until it's absolutely required that they be medicated, and only for as long as they need to be medicated. So I agree with you on that. I think that makes a lot of sense. And thank you for the work you do and for calling in. Bethany in Colchester, Connecticut, WJJF. I appreciate it. Let us continue. We're going to go to Brenda. Brenda's in Albany, New York on WGDJ. Brenda, go right ahead.
Hi. I'm excited to be here. I love your show. I just wanted to make a quick comment about the person who said El Trampito is not not a good nickname.
Go right
Love it. El Trumpito Donaldus Magnumus, it exudes the gravity of his air and greatness. It's perfect.
Oh, thank you.
So I'll just say that.
I love that.
I also wanted to say, regarding the immigration issue, we all moved to the USA, all have the American dream. We do it the right way. It's unfair that those who manage to cross and climb the walls, make it in, get Obama phones, and at the same time get Visa or MasterCards with $4,000, and yet us who do it the right way, we don't get it. As an example, I did it the right way. It was 2.5 years, and then someone at the Department of Homeland at the border decides to get it wrong or not tell me, right? Because they have an amount of information that they can tell us, and they don't tell me, and because I'm Canadian.
Okay.
So I end up having my child removed from my application, and then I have to pay again for my child to be on the application and get processed the right way, right? We take the time and we spend the money to do it the right way. And I'm an immigrant also in Canada, so I understand the immigration process and wanting to have a better life for yourself and your children and your family. So I'm not against immigrants. I'm not against, people trying to live the, Western world dream. Not at all. But we all have to do it the right way, because at the end of the day...
Doing it the right way is key. I think you hit the nail on the head. You have to do it the right way. And it's a complicated process. And I think something that El Trompito needs to focus on is reforming the system to make it a little bit simpler. And I think he will, because he keeps talking about doing it merit-based and making sure you bring in the right people. And judging by your accent, being an immigrant in America and Canada, I can only guess you come from one of the islands not far from where my family comes from, in Puerto Rico. I don't know if I'm right or wrong on that, but I hope to speak with you again, Brenda. I appreciate the call. Godspeed to you. Albany, New York, WGDJ. Folks, we're coming right back. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back to my favorite late night program. Me, Rich Valdez, and our phone number 833-4-VALDEZ. We've got lots of calls. I think the entire phone bank is jam-packed, so we will continue open phones across America. Of course, we do have to stop to pay some bills, but I am looking forward to speaking with people. Let me just give you an idea. Wichita, Kansas, KQAM. Montreal, Canada, WVMT. Roach, Missouri, KRMS. Juliet, Illinois, WLS. Saratoga, New York, WGDJ. Naperville, Illinois, WLS. Alliance, Ohio, WNIR. And that's just a sampling. Fargo, North Dakota. So many more to come, WDAY. So keep it locked here, folks. We're coming back with your calls and so much more. For those of you that can't stick around, hasta la próxima. Take care, good night, and God bless you, America. I'm Rich Valdez.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez. America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Your liberty-loving Latino amigo. Happy to be here with you this Friday night. We're live, we're national, and here's the phone number if you want to join. Open phones across America. Call in on any topic and give us your thoughts. 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. And I want to give you a rundown of what I've been tracking this evening. You've got the Japanese Prime Minister pulling up to the White House, hanging out with El Trompito Donaldus Magnus, the 45th and 47th President of the United States, El Presidente, and making a lot of remarks on a number of things. One of the things that they talked about was firing some corrupt FBI agents, as well as DOJ looking at the Department of Education and the military and a number of things. And spending is one of those things, when you talk about DOJ, you're talking about spending, right? Being efficient with our expenses. And in addition to Trump and the Prime Minister, Shigeru Ishiba, being at the joint press conference today in the White House, you also have members of the United States Congress that are weighing in on this. And Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, he had some interesting comments to share with respect to spending. And I think he's spot on. Listen to this.
I was paying especially close attention to what the president had to say about reviewing spending. I think it would be fair to say that President Trump is dug in like a tick. He's going to continue. He ran on this issue. He said, if you elect me president, I'm going to review the spending. Now, I don't know how you review the spending without reviewing the spending. No fair-minded person can doubt that the President of the United States has the authority to review the spending in the executive branch. He's delegated that authority to Elon Musk. A lot of my Democratic colleagues and most of the members of the tofu crowd are very upset. They're screaming like Musk stole their dog or something. But one thing they're not talking about is what Mr. Musk is finding. I mean, just at the USAID, he found hundreds of millions, maybe billions of dollars worth of spending porn.
Spending porn is what he says. In some other news, President Trump has also announced that he is suspending or revoking President Biden's security clearance in a long post on Truth Social, ultimately indicating, Biden, you're fired, which I thought was funny. So anyway, I want to get your thoughts on some of that stuff. Let's go to Carla in Alliance, Ohio, WNIR. Carla, welcome. You're on with Rich Valdez.
Hi, Rich Valdez. Thank you for taking my call.
Pleasure. Thank you.
So I'm very new to politics, but my question is, I really don't understand, where you're saying that Biden got his security clearance taken away. So if you could explain that to me, that would be great.
Sure. Well, typically when you are president of the United States, while you don't hold the office anymore, you hold a lot of the privilege, right? You continue to get the president's daily security briefings as a former president, because as a former president, you bring a lot to the table, right? Whether you from any party or, Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter. You have that privilege. Now, with Biden, I think he's the only president that's ever had to pardon his own son and pardon members of his family that weren't even charged with a crime, as well as members of the government. Members of the January 6th committee were pardoned. Liz Cheney was pardoned. Dr. Fauci was pardoned. These people were not charged with any crimes. And the idea that Biden was peddling was, we think Trump's going to go after them. Well, if Trump goes after them and finds that there's a crime, then let them be charged with their crime and they deal with it. Well, he figured, let me circumvent all of that and go ahead and pardon these people. So to me, you're not looking for pardons unless you think you're guilty. And I think that's a big indication of one of the reasons why we definitely don't want Biden to have access to secure information. And I'd say the biggest one was, I remember a beautiful debate that Trump had with Biden, where Biden said something. It was really just hard to follow, very hard to track, and it was really like a rambling type of thing. And Trump, in all, I would say, in honesty and in compassion, responded, I have no idea what he said. I don't think he even knows what he said. And I think all of America agreed in that moment. And Biden's mental capacity was definitely in question on many occasions. And somebody that's not in that situation, I think, really, again, has no business having security clearance as a former president. So I think Trump really had to do this here. I don't think it was a question of retribution or his opinion. I think he felt that in the best interest of national security, I'm going to take it away. And I think politics isn't part of it here. If it was, then he would take away Obama's as well. And he didn't do that. So that's kind of where I land on that one. Carla, thank you for listening to the show. And I hope you're enjoying the program, the late night national town hall conversation that we're having here. Shout out to everybody in Ohio, WNIR. Let us continue. I want to go to, let me see, where do we go? Mark, Fargo, North Dakota, WDAY. Go right ahead.
Hi, Rich. First-time caller, and I've always wanted to give a shout-out to a guy who's a regular caller, and I affectionately call him the Gila in Manila.
I love that, the Gila in Manila. Gil from the Philippines. Oh, he's a great guy. We love that. You know, Gil, just not to steal your thunder here, but Gil has been calling this show since the days of Larry King. So through Larry King's time on this program, Jim Bohannon's time on this program, and sticking with me, I love the guy. I think he's terrific. Mark, what's on your mind, brother?
Well, the question I wanted to ask, it's the country of Guatemala that wants to take in our deported criminals, right?
Well, El Salvador.
Oh, El Salvador. Okay. It sounds a little fishy to me. Why would anybody want to take in our deported criminals? Do you think they have some kind of nefarious reason, or what's in it for them?
I think, here's what I think. We had Victor Avila, who's a former ICE supervisory special agent, on the show 2 nights ago. If you haven't heard that interview, you should. He explains it really well. And you could get the replay of it at richvaldez.com for free. But part of what he talked about was, of course, there's a fee associated, just like, any other deal you would make. But that's not really the reason. I think the real reason is they had a huge crime problem with a gang called MS-13, Mala Salvatrucha 13. And the MS-13 gang was very, very violent. And what they've done is they've basically used the military in El Salvador to imprison many of these gang members. And these are the most brutal gangs in the world. And they go now to the most brutal prison in the world. And it's brutal. So it's the kind of place that you really want to avoid at all costs. So if Trump, were to enact, even just rhetoric saying, hey, look, we're trying to discourage illegal aliens or anyone from, violating the law. And FYI, we're running out of space in the United States. So the next, people that start violating the law in this way, bringing in fentanyl, whatever it is, whatever he chooses, says, you're getting an express flight to the Supermax penitentiary in El Salvador. I think that could serve as a deterrent. Now, I don't think that that's likely going to happen. That's my thought. But I do think that it's great as a deterrent, right? You want to talk about these things, just like talking about the United States owning Gaza, right? I don't think that's going to happen either. And it could, but I don't think it is. But I think the real thing here is, this is, me being a dad of 2 daughters, when they would come to me screaming, Dad, Dad, and each one of them had a fistful of the other's hair. All I could do to my daughters was, try to separate them and get in between. And I think that's what Trump is doing there, at least in Gaza. He's saying, hey, look, I'm here now, so just relax. Everybody get into your mutual corner. And I think in the same way, he's using this this talk about people going to jail in El Salvador as a major deterrent. At least those are my thoughts. Mark in Fargo, North Dakota, WDAY. Shout out to you guys. Let us continue. Janet, Roach, Missouri, KRMS. Go right ahead.
Hi, Rich. Good to talk to you this afternoon.
Likewise. Thank you.
Evening.
talking about all of the spending, and I'm really proud that Trump has put Elon Musk over a lot of this and finding out and showing the American people just what all's been going on. And so I was curious, and I looked it up to see how much the U.S. government has borrowed from the Social Security Trust Fund to pay for other government spending. And I was quite amazed when it showed that it was between $1.7 trillion and $4.1 trillion that has been borrowed from the Social Security Trust Fund over the years. And I really like to see Elon Musk go in there and find out where that money went and to what foolishness that it has been spent on. And also to take the money that they was going to foolishly spend going overseas for pornography and teaching of LGBTQ or whatever they've been doing, take that money and put it back into Social Security Trust Fund. And they say that in about 9 years, that Social Security would be depleted. Well, my goodness, you take that many $1 trillion, no wonder.
Exactly.
I mean,
right. If you're spending money like a drunken sailor, or as my buddy, the great one, Mark Levin says, as like a drunken Democrat, then of course you're going to run out of money. And I think that's exactly the problem. I was talking to my brother earlier today, and he was saying, more Americans need to know about this Doge stuff because it gets them angry. And when they get angry, they start paying attention. And people need to pay attention because the government, the idea of a government of, for, and by the people, for many it's foreign, but for people like me that are, constitutional purists, I think it's a requirement, right? It's a prerequisite to what we do. So I'm with you, Janet. We need to find out where this money went, make sure it doesn't happen again, and move forward in a better direction. Janet in Roach, Missouri, KRMS, thank you for your call, darling. I appreciate it. And folks, we're going to pause right here, come right back, have some additional conversation. We've got calls from Idaho, Arkansas, Kansas, Canada, the Netherlands, New York City, Illinois, and more. We're going to get to all of your calls and some conversation on what Valentine's gifts you shouldn't be buying. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. This is America. This is Night. This is Rich Valdez.
56% of Americans plan to celebrate Valentine's Day, according to the National Retail Federation. They predict spending totals in 2025 will reach $27.5 billion. That's up about 6% compared to last year's spending total of $25.8 billion. Data from the National Retail Federation shows more people plan to participate in the holiday this year compared to last. The NRF expects shoppers will spend an average of at least $190. Data shows men are more likely to celebrate the holiday this year, with more than half of men surveyed saying they're going to participate in festivities. As for what gifts consumers plan to give, the top 5 are candy, flowers, cards, an evening out, and jewelry. NRF says consumers continue to prioritize giving gifts to those closest to their hearts, predicting that 32% of consumers plan to purchase a gift for friends, and around 30% of shoppers say they plan on buying something for their pet. NRF says online shopping remains the top way consumers plan to buy their gifts. Reporting in Charleston, Jenna Horezo, Live 5 News.
That's a report from WCSC, Charleston, South Carolina. And we're talking about spending, right? Spending, including what people are going to be spending on Valentine's, which is just a few short days away next week. And I even heard one report about people spending on foods that you can name after an ex of yours that you may not be very favorable of. and you can feed it to animals at like a zoo, which is kind of crazy. But I want to talk about what people are going to buy gifts on, because I think buying jewelry is great. I'm in the jewelry business, so I think that's fantastic. But I would love to see, what people should not be spending money on. And to talk about that, I want to talk to Jennifer Styers. She is a dating and relationship coach. She's the founder and CEO of Love Gen and the CEO of the Loveability app. She even has her own very popular podcast called The Loveability Show with Jennifer Styers. Jen Styers, welcome back.
Oh, it's good to be back. And you've been on my show before, so you're a
Great
friend
show.
of the show.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love your show. It's a fantastic show. Can't wait to be back on it. And
You
I
will
want
be.
to talk about this because I thought this was an amazing topic to discuss, right? Gifts that you should not buy. What is at the top of this list?
Well, there's lots on the list. Honestly, anything that is going to offend them, it is going to offend somebody else.
Like a girdle? Don't buy them a girdle.
Spanx, don't do that. But yeah, things like, vacuum cleaners. We'll get into some of the self-serving gifts like lingerie, but vacuum cleaners, weight loss, things like, a year's worth of Ozempic or, I mean, I know it's crazy, but a gym membership. This is the one time not to buy somebody a gym membership, right?
Got it. So, all right, yeah, because that could send the wrong message. And I could see how that could really blow up in one's face. Now, in addition to those things, and I think, in Spanish we call them electrodomésticos, right? Those great products like vacuum cleaners and blenders and things like that. But so if we're not buying gym memberships and lingerie, and I would have thought lingerie would have been a good one because I think a lot of moms.
It is for you.
Yeah, it is. All right. But I'm saying even women, I think women enjoy, feeling pretty and whatnot, but maybe feel like, I don't want to spend on that. That would have been my thinking. I guess I would have been wrong on that. But what else, if those are the ones topping the list, what's next?
Really, it's just, I would say stay away from anything. Like you just said it, you're a guy. You just said lingerie, right? Anything that would serve you, right? Something that would be something that would be a gift to you too. So you just want to make sure. I think the key is when we're talking about what not to get. I'm always so focused on what to get. And it's always trying to focus on who that person is. Here we have the same canned like flowers, candy, a card, whatever. Jewelry's great if you're in a long-term relationship. Don't do that up front if you just started dating somebody.
Sure.
But you just want to be really careful. Even lingerie, like you talk about lingerie. That's something.
Yeah, you don't want to do that on a second date for sure.
Women.
Right. Jen Styers, stick with me. We're coming right back. The music means we got to pause right here. And we're coming back to your calls. We've got a bunch of amazing calls we're going to get to momentarily. We're going to wrap up with Jen Styers on the other side of this. Folks, it's Rich Valdez keeping you company all night long till midnight, 1 a.m. Eastern time. Our guest is Jen Styers. Don't go anywhere. I'm Rich Valdez.
He's brown, he's bald, and he's breaking it down. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez.
How about trying something a little bit more unique for that not so special Valentine this year? Love Bites, the second-year running fun event hosted by the St. Louis Aquarium, gives those the opportunity to get a little vengeance on someone in your life.
You can name a piece of food after your not so special someone and then watch an animal enjoy that piece of food.
The amount of food you wish to donate to the animals can go as little or as big as you want.
You choose what level donation you'd like to give. It's anywhere from $10 to $25. And that buys you a different kind of feeder animal. So anything from a vegetable to a superworm to a cricket. You put in the first name of the person that you would like to name that food for, and then we will send you a video in the next few days of that food being consumed by one of our animals.
So that is a report from Haley Fitzpatrick, Fox 2 St. Louis, where, yes, if you don't like your ex and you want to name a piece of food after them, they'll name a piece of food after it, and they will feed it to one of the animals at the aquarium. That's funny, right? Funny, interesting. I want to get into this and finish our conversation with Jennifer Styers. She's a dating and relationship coach, the host of the Loveability Show with Jennifer Styers. And Jen Styers, when we started this conversation, we were talking about what people shouldn't buy. Is this something people should buy? A piece of meat that we could feed to a shark?
Yeah. It's funny. They're doing these programs at the animal shelters. It's neuter your ex, and it's the same thing. You can name a stray animal after your ex, and they'll send you the picture and stuff after. It's quite amusing. So, yeah, but hey, rule of thumb, because this is a big question. I mean, regardless of the funny things that go on, it's a big question. And at the end of the day, we want to be thoughtful. I think the other thing besides the vacuum cleaners and the generic, things, the offensive gifts, the things like gift cards or money, like it's not thoughtful. And thoughtful is the way to go.
Now, what about thoughtful? Like, here's a gift card to go get Botox.
That would be lovely.
That's a trip to the doghouse too, right?
Botox, yeah, absolutely, yeah. That would not be. But on the flip side, let's go to the flip side. A spa day with your girlfriend or boyfriend would be great. Get a couples massage. You do it together, right? So that's a good tip. That's a good thing. Guys are always harder to shop for. So I can definitely tell you, ladies, that men are harder to shop for. Always good.
Yeah, I'm very hard to shop for. A gift card or cash I'd hate it.
See? Would you?
No, I would love it. I would love it because I get whatever I want. But I could be picky and be like, you couldn't put any thought into it. How dare you? But I get over it once I bought whatever I wanted to buy.
But that's why we've got to be thoughtful about it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the little, writing on the bathroom mirror, the love notes, putting love notes in their car, or just little I love yous in places. I mean, just get creative. I've heard so many cool stories over the years on how people do this. But if nothing else, you get a card and you acknowledge the holiday. I mean, you have to. You have to. Even if you guys don't celebrate it, acknowledge it. My dad used to give us chocolate every year. I don't even like chocolate, but he always came home with flowers and chocolates for my mom and chocolates for me and my sister, which is so sweet.
Yes, very sweet. And it's funny. You would be part of the 22% of people in the survey that we saw here that don't like heart-shaped boxes of chocolate.
It's only 22%.
Yeah, only 22%. Yeah, actually, all of these things, I'm going to read a couple to you. Furry handcuffs, 34% do not like this. 34% say that's one of the most hated gifts. Flowers, 28% don't like flowers. Now, you're a girl. I tend to give flowers. I think flowers are always a hit, in my opinion. What are your thoughts? Flowers, yes, no, maybe so?
Flowers are lovely. They are. You have to know what flowers she likes. And, you have to also know if they have pets, what flowers to avoid, because I've had the most beautiful arrangements, Rich, that I've gotten from guys, like really expensive. And I had to put it in a closet or a bathtub or shower because I couldn't have them out because my cat would eat them. So you just got to be, really, I know that sounds crazy, but you have to be thoughtful. So, just make sure you know what they like. Again, think of love languages. If their love language is quality time, spend time with them. If their love language is gifts, give them gifts. If it's affirmation, then leave the little love notes and make sure you write stuff, little love notes to them and say things to them that day. That's the key is giving in the way that people receive love. It's important.
Outstanding. Jen Styers, thanks for being with us and bringing us up to speed. I hope to have you back again really soon to talk about relationships, dating, and everything else that I'm really bad at. Thank you.
Thanks.
You're the best. All right, amigos, we continue now. We go back to the phones. I want to go to, where do we go here? Hold on, where do we leave off? We got a lot of action here tonight, and I can't wait to speak with everybody. Let's go to Paul, Boise, Idaho, KBOI. Paul, go for it.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
First thing I wanted to mention is I got a good nickname. I think El Trumpito will enjoy it. It's Trump's new bulldozer.
Dozier, the bulldozer. That's funny. I get it. I
yeah.
get it. Yeah, 'cause they're taking a wrecking ball to federal spending.
Yeah, the poor Dems. I feel so sorry for them. Yeah, right.
You're a better man than me.
Yeah. Yeah, when it comes down to Valentine's, I actually have to take a friend to a hospital, and she has to get some spots off her lungs removed.
Oh, wow.
So that they can be looked at to see if they're benign or what the story is with them. She's been a heavy smoker for a long time, so I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic that it'll be okay, but one can never be too sure.
I hope everything works out with your friend. I really do. That's a tough thing. My mom died of lung disease, non-smoker, and it was difficult. It was very, very difficult. So I don't wish it on anybody. Paul in Boise, thank you, brother. Godspeed to you and your friend. Let us continue. Let us go to Marcia, Baxter Springs, Kansas, KCRG. Go right ahead.
Hi. You're doing such a wonderful job. Jim would absolutely be thrilled, and I'm
that is
sure
so
he
kind.
is.
Thank you. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. And another thing with Musk and with President Trump, he's already told everybody what he was going to do when he took the office. So
Yeah. No,
nobody
you're right.
should be shocked that he's going through everything. And I'm glad he is. I think
me too.
that they're scared of what he's going to find.
Yeah, I think most of the complaining is really it's the cheating spouse that is like, why are you going through my phone? You shouldn't be going through my phone. You're invading my privacy. Meanwhile, they know full well they're about to get caught and they're cheating. So that's what's going on here, right? Everybody's trying to shoot the messenger saying Elon Musk is the bad guy because he's catching these people with their hand in the cookie jar. And man, how red-handed they are it gets worse each day. Marcia, thank you for your call. Shout out to Kansas, KCRG in the building. Let's see. We're going to keep it moving. We're going to go to Robert, Malvern, Arkansas, KARN. Robert, go right ahead, sir.
Hey, buddy.
Welcome.
Glad that you are on the station.
Thank you. Likewise. Happy to be here.
Now, I've only gotten a hold of you since, the station made their swap, but I have people going, oh my God, and we're going to get international here. Oh, hypersonic missiles. I'm going, yeah. And they're going, well, Hillary Clinton sold that technology to Russia. And I'm going, yeah. Brother,
Yeah.
I would like to ask you a question.
Get to it, brother.
If she sold the technology 15 years ago, why are we terrified? Because if she sold it, we had it.
Right. Yeah, listen, I think part of I think they're two separate issues. One, I don't think anybody's terrified. But I do think that the United States, and this is in the broadest sense, right? Different administrations at different times in history have sold. A big part of what we do is sell weapons, right? We are the weapons manufacturer of the planet. And this is part of what we do. So we, with allies, we broker deals where we sell them different types of arms. And, that's why we always have this big defense industry in this country. It's a big part of who we are. Now, when Hillary made these things, you don't want to sell certain things to people that are not allies. And I think part of the issue, right, during the Clinton administration, that they were very friendly towards China, getting them back into the World Trade Organization, allowing U.S. companies to offshore factories there. I think there are certain countries where you don't want to play nice, and China's one of them, because they want to come and eat your lunch. I think another one is Iran. And we saw, both in the Obama administration and the Biden administration, they were very friendly towards Iran. So it's my opinion that you have to play tough with a lot of countries, Russia included, because you just need to, right? there's a competitive nature, in my opinion, to being in the global politics. I'll say it that way. And I know lots of people don't like globalists and they want everything to be America first. And there's a number of isolationists out there. But ultimately, if you're not the top dog, someone else is going to be the top dog. And they're going to eat your lunch. And I think the big fish always eats the little fish. It's that simple. So I don't think we're terrified. I think we probably made an error in selling China some of this information and these technologies. But that's, at this point, it's water under the bridge, and all we can do is make sure we're not doing that. And I could pretty much assure you that Trump didn't do that when he was in office, right? I think he made some deals with Saudi Arabia, who is a friend, a partner, an ally, that they have not been adversarial towards us. And I think that's kind of how it has to work, right? It's a lot. I'd rather sell them weapons than give them foreign aid through USAID. Just my opinion. Anyway, thanks for the call, brother. I appreciate it. Robert in Arkansas, KARN. I'm going to pause right here, coming right back. The rest of your calls: Canada, Kansas, Texas, the Netherlands, New York, Illinois, Arkansas, Montana, coming up. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. No hair, no care, and live on the air, it's Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. It's the speed round. We're getting to your calls. Just get to your point super quickly because there's a lot of people on hold. I want to go to Bill, Amarillo, Texas, KGNC. Go right ahead, Bill.
Yes, I was talking, back in 2006, I had a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I've been, listening to media, and I realized back then that I had to quit listening because it made my anxiety go through the roof because of all the all the overexposure to the negative things going on in the United States. And even nowadays, you got all these lies going back and forth, and it creates a lot of anxiety.
100%. I think you're right, Bill. Matter of fact, the number one prescription since COVID that doctors have been giving out is stop watching the news. And not because it was fake news, but I guess that played a part of it. It was because it was creating anxiety. It was creating people who were just like, oh my gosh, all the doom and gloom. And it only got worse during the Biden years because inflation kept going up. Things got more expensive. It was very difficult to report any good news. So you're spot on there. And oftentimes people have called here paying me a compliment saying, you know what, I turned off the TV, I turned on the radio, things are a lot better. I appreciate that. I try to give you the news, but with as lighthearted way as I can and with a smile. And, because really I think there's a lot to look forward to in life, and we should never lose sight of that. So thanks, brother. I appreciate it, and I'm glad you're doing better. Shout out to KGNC, Amarillo, Texas. Let's continue. Let's go to Chris calling us from Amsterdam in the Netherlands, listening on WLS. Go right ahead.
Hi, Rich. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Likewise.
So we've all heard almost ad nauseum about all the USAID ways that they're spending our money, all the ludicrous things that they're spending. But one of the things I've never heard, and I listen to a lot of talk radio, is what's the selection process? I would assume that somebody has to approve this stuff. And in my logical mind, I would assume that there'd be kind of a lightweight business case. What is the problem?
Let me tell you a little bit of what I know, because I worked in government at the state level, and I can tell you how it worked. Oftentimes, what happens is when you're giving out monies, right, there's usually a somewhat competitive process for giving out a grant. And these grant proposals are they're competitive, but they only announce them to certain people. And I've seen this happen. Right. So if you knew that you wanted a particular agency, let's just say UNRWA, right? The UN, whatever, the people that were helping the folks in Hamas to blow people up. UNRWA might apply for a grant from the United States government, Department of State, from USAID, from whoever, for saying they want to do X, Y, and Z. And then they'll open it up competitively. They'll post it on some obscure website somewhere saying, we're going to be giving out a grant for $2 million for people that specialize in, and they make it so specific that only UNRWA has expertise in that area, and then they end up getting the money. So that's oftentimes how they do this within the deep state, the bureaucracy. Other ways are sometimes just direct grants where they say, you know what, there's nobody else that could really do this. We have to give it to this agency. So there's a number of ways of doing it, but those are a couple that I know of. Thank you for tuning in, brother. I appreciate it. Glad to make your acquaintance. Chris in Amsterdam in the Netherlands streaming the show tonight. Thank you, sir. Let us continue. I want to go to... where did I leave off here? Dave, Wichita, Kansas. KQAM. Go right ahead.
My brother from another mother. Love your show, Rich. It's always fascinating.
I appreciate that.
Last year we touched base on this subject. Realized it might not work, but maybe now that Trump's in office, maybe the American public can help him out with the illegals here in the States by putting a bounty on them. Let the word go out. Hey.
Yeah, the problem with that is it would open up, I think, a world of lawsuits. Because who are we, right, without any investigatory information to say, oh, you look like you don't belong here, right? It would be a profiling thing that would cost the government a fortune. I think even right now, there's probably going to be a number of lawsuits for things that if they don't fly right. I think the focus that they have right now on removing people that have deportation orders, removing people that are felons that have, violated the terms of being in this country, go for it. Everybody else eventually will get caught up. And I don't mean everybody else, right? I don't mean that. I mean, since I've been alive, we've had illegal immigrants in this country. Do I think Trump is going to end illegal immigration? No, I don't think so. I do think he's going to remove the criminal aliens. I think he's going to stop the massive flow of people coming through the border. He's going to stop a lot of the fentanyl that's coming into the country. But I think there's going to be a number of people that are here that are, otherwise not criminals that are going to go undetected. And he might even give them a pathway to citizenship or otherwise, because he's been very generous that way. So we'll see how it plays out. But I don't think we're going to be... recruiting everybody in the country to start ratting out on their neighbor. But thank you, brother. I appreciate the call. KQAM, Dave in Wichita. Folks are coming right back. Speed round continues.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, it is the speed round. Welcome back, Rich Valdez with you, and I want to go to Jackie, but right before her, we got Kenny in Wilmington, Delaware, WDEL. Kenny, very quickly.
Hi, Mr. Valdez. I'd just like to say, are you still there?
All right, Kenny, thank you for your call, brother. We appreciate it. Let's go to Jackie, Gettysburg, South Dakota, KORN. Quickly, go right ahead.
Hello, how's it going this evening, sir? We're cold here in South Dakota.
Good. You got seconds to go.
Okay, mental illness since 15, diagnosed because my father passed away, a Korean conflict veteran.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Jackie. Unfortunately, I was hoping you'd be able to get to the point a little faster. Hopefully, you guys can call in on Monday again. But thank you, and I'm glad you're doing better now. Folks, hasta la próxima. Take care. Good night, and God bless you, America.